Gardening is a pretty mundane thing that you've got to do regardless of whether you like it or not. And while sometimes it can be fun, especially when you're growing your own stuff, things like mowing the lawn are never great. But what if he told you that it's possible to turn even the most boring parts of gardening into something that's enjoyable? Yep, thanks to a lot of incredible innovation over the past few years, we've actually got some super rad gardening tools now that can completely transform the whole experience. So from the futuristic edible plants grower to the quirky little Tertill, here are some of the coolest gardening gadgets on the market. Which of these gardening gadgets intrigued you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Remember that whole speech earlier about how lawnmowers are boring and tedious? Well, if you've made it this far, then here's your reward. This bad boy right here is the mother of all lawnmowers out there. If your old mower is a Honda Civic, then this is a Ferrari. Not only does it look incredible, but it's also very powerful. In fact, it can even handle complicated terrain like slopes and narrow passages. Plus, you've got all the other X-Line perks like GPS theft tracking and assist navigation. On top of that, it's also got tons of other smart features like auto passage handling, weather timer, and a lot of different cutting modes and patterns. For realsies, this is the gardening gadget of your dreams. Speaking of gardening tools of your dreams, who doesn't love carrying a massive chainsaw and trimming down your hedge? Yep, the Phoenix 3-in-1 is the Swiss Army knife of landscaping tools. It's got a chainsaw, a circular saw, and a reciprocating saw. And what's great is that you can alternate between the three on the fly. If you've just finished cutting weeds and branches with a chainsaw and want to do some casual carpentry instead, just pop on the circular saw and you're all set. Oh, and did we mention that this tool is intelligent and emission-free? Yep, it's extremely quiet and produces virtually zero toxic fumes. And it's safe too, thanks to a high-quality trigger, a safety lock, and an anti-slip coating on top. Keeping your yard clean is hard work, especially when you've got trees that are constantly shedding in pine cones, chestnuts, or acorns. And while raking is one option to keep these tidy, scrounging around and picking up those nuts isn't exactly efficient. With Stihl Nut Harvesters though, you'll be collecting those things at the speed of light. Seriously, their long sturdy bristles make sure that you don't have any rogue acorns littering the ground. Plus, with their quick swap kits, you've got a ton of options to try out different brushes for all sorts of nutty stuff out there. So get a picking bucket, a Stihl Nut kit, and go nuts. Everyone wants to be instantly great at growing plants, but the sad truth is that having a green thumb is pretty rare. So to actually make sure that your plants remain alive and well fed, you've got to do a ton of research and cross-check that with all the conditions in your little garden. And honestly, it's super hard to dedicate so much time to all of that stuff these days. With the Edin Garden Sensor though, you don't have to worry about keeping an eye on your garden 24/7. This nifty little gadget sits in the middle of your backyard and gathers all sorts of data about things like soil and weather conditions. It sends electrical signals through the soil to detect the smallest of changes and analyzes them in real time. You can check things like ambient temperature, humidity, soil nutrition, pH levels, and moisture. Plus, it's always connected to the Wi-Fi, which means that it's got access to Eden's vast database for cross-referencing important data. Oh, and this gardening gadget's also fully solar powered, so you never have to worry about plugging it in or running out of battery. If you're still using an old school hose or a manual sprinkler attachment to water your garden, and what better way to spruce up your sprinkling than going for the most cutting-edge water system we've seen? You see, this guy might be called a smart sprinkle, but in reality, it's so much more than that. Obviously, you've got your Wi-Fi connection and an app to monitor it, but on top of that, you've also got a fully automatic watering system. Like, it straight up creates and adjusts the watering schedule according to your plants and the weather without any external inputs. And if that wasn't impressive enough already, then this little gadget's also able to save water using weather forecast data and historical evidence. Also, if your neighborhood's got watering rules, then this thing's got that covered too. Seriously, this has to be one of the most impressive inventions that we've seen for a garden. Now, if you're more of an aesthetic-driven person and want a gardening gadget that actually looks futuristic too, then look no further. This plants grower is similar to the babysitter in its concept, but it's got a lot more going for it. Not only does it look like something Wall-E would use to grow plants, but it's actually very close to being just that functionally too. You see, this is a hydroponic plant grower, which means that it doesn't use any soil. The end results? Well, you get faster growth, more plants, and fewer roots, which ultimately means less hassle. Of course, this guy's also always connected to the Wi-Fi and all that jazz. And whenever your plant needs water, it's going to deal with that automatically too. All you've got to do is add growing nutrients and refresh the water tank from time to time, and voila! Okay, let's switch things around a bit. The Playbulb garden isn't necessarily a gardening tool, but it's still a must-have for anyone who's serious about keeping their plants healthy. In essence, it's just a light that automatically turns on at night. In reality though, it's the only light you'll ever need in your garden, whether it's for your plants or yourself. It supports full RGB, meaning that you can change it to literally any color you want right from your phone. Plus, it's got a ton of lighting effects too, just to set the mood, you know? And the solar-powered battery makes sure that it virtually never runs out of charge. Oh, and it's fully water resistant, and can go straight into grass too, so it's right at home in your garden. Alright, before we even start, we've got to say, Tertill is such an incredible name for a little robot that slowly walks around your garden. But this dude isn't just there to look cute in your backyard. In reality, Tertill's a bit of a killer. Yep, it's kind of like a Roomba, but instead of dealing with the dust in your room, it destroys garden weeds instead. All you've got to do is press its button and let it take care of the rest. And once it gets going, its special wheels churn up the top layer of soil to disrupt weed seeds as they grow. Plus, if any of them do manage to somehow sprout still, it's got a trimmer to deal with that too. Oh, and if you're worried about your plants getting caught in the crossfire, then you can relax, because Tertill's really good at knowing the difference between a weed and a normal plant. You've probably seen one of those futuristic plant growing systems in a sci-fi movie. You know, the ones that are on a spaceship or something? Guess what? If you've ever wanted to have that in your own home, then today's your lucky day, because OGarden Smart is exactly that. It's an ultra cool looking indoor gardening kit that lets you grow stuff all year round. Also, since it's self-contained, you don't have to worry about pesticides and herbicides either. All you do is sow your plants in the cups, wait for them to grow a bit, and then transfer them over to the wheel. And the wheel not only looks futuristic, but it's also got everything that your plants would ever need. So things like water and lights are automatically covered. Ever since robotic vacuum cleaners took over American homes by storm, people were left wondering when such an item for your lawn might be invented. Well, you don't have to wait any longer, as Honda has come up with the most advanced robotic lawnmower you can buy right now. Mimo is a robotic lawnmower powered by AI that cuts your grass with computerized precision. Regardless of how big or small your lawn is, it'll work day and night under any conditions to make sure you always have a perfectly manicured lawn. It'll automatically return to its docking station so it can charge, making it a completely hands-off product.